Welcome back, everybody. RC here for the brand new season of Photography Tips and Tricks, your show for gear, tips, inspiration, anything that you need to take your photography to the next level. So, but this time around, right, to kick off the show, I'm here with Mr. Brad Moore. What's going on, Brad?
What's going on?
How you doing?
Doing great. How are you?
Good. Now, listen, I wanted to kind of do things a little bit differently around here because here's the thing. Brad spends a lot of the time kind of working on books, working on book production, working on tours. You're flying everywhere, all around the world.
Doing a bunch of stuff.
Right? So you're
miscellaneous things.
Miscellaneous, important things. But one of the things that Brad does that a lot of people don't know is that he spends a lot of time kind of working in a lab here. So he'll take different gear, take different equipment, and coming up with different ideas. And I know that some of you guys in comments and things like that, I've talked a little bit about the concept of extension tubes and macro photography.
Right.
And you found something that was really interesting. I'll let you kind of go through it here real quick.
Yeah, I kind of heard about, like, Scott on the tour that we're on right now, he talks about this thing right here, which is a Canon close-up lens. It's like a filter that screws on to the end of your lens.
Okay.
And it helps you get closer. So if you don't have a macro lens, you can buy this thing, and it doesn't necessarily replace this. It doesn't get you right there, but it's pretty close. It's good.
So this is a close-up lens, and this is a Canon one, but you can buy this for
that. So Canon makes these, but they work. It's not brand specific to your camera. As long as it fits on your lens, it will work. So
okay. So this is a common thread.
Yeah, this is a 77 millimeter,
okay,
which is what the 70-200 is.
Okay, so you would put a 70-200, screw this on.
And most photographers already have a 70-200 millimeter lens, especially if you're a portrait photographer.
Okay.
You may not have a macro lens.
Okay.
And then I also was hearing about extension tubes, which is what these are.
Okay.
And how they will let you get closer to your subject as well.
Okay.
So I just started thinking about it, and I was like, well, if most photographers already have this lens, are they necessarily going to want to spend another $1,000+ just to be able to get really close to stuff?
That's a very good question, right? So the average macro lens for something like this would run about $1,000.
Right around there.
Okay. Yeah. Now let's just set that there. Let's take a look at this first picture right here.
So this picture, these are just test shots that I was working on in the lab.
Okay.
And this right here was taken with the actual macro lens.
Okay.
So these are
and again, we're not going for Academy Award here. We're not going for Picture of the Year here.
Totally just testing.
We just want to show you just some general ideas out of the gate. So this was your macro lens.
Right. That was as close as I could get and have it in focus.
We'll move this out of the way.
Okay.
Let's go to the next one.
So this was with the 70-200 with nothing on it. That's as close as I could get to those flowers and still be able to focus.
Okay, and that's the key point. It's the focusing distance. That's what we're talking about here. When you're moving in your macro work, you can only get so close, right? At 70 millimeters, you can get this close before it starts focusing. At 200, you got to get much further back.
Right.
So this is as close as you can get. Now, what about here?
So there, I added one of these extension tubes. I think it was the smallest one, the 13 millimeter. And then
basically, what you do is you snap this on to the body.
Yes, it goes on in between the body and the lens.
Okay, cool. So you put that in there, and that's what you got there.
So I was able to get that much closer. Then I switched to the next biggest one, the, what is this, 21 millimeter lens.
Okay.
Extension tube.
So you put this one on instead.
Instead, yes.
Okay. That got you that close.
That got me that close. Then I took the next biggest one, which is the 31 millimeter extension tube. I was able to get that close.
Okay. So now, that's pretty close, but it's still not as close as
an actual macro lens.
As an actual macro lens. Right. So how do we get to?
So this one, if I remember correctly, I stacked all 3 extension tubes on in between actually, it may have just been 2. I think this was just 2 of them, and then this was 3 of them.
So basically, you take these things,
you attach them together, which is how they come.
Together.
Put all 3 of them on in between the camera and the lens, and that lets you get this close.
Now, is it a macro lens? No.
No.
But
it's much better than what you had.
Okay, it's much better than what you had, right? Gets you a lot closer, comparatively speaking, so you can pull off some of these shots.
Right. Now, here I'll go ahead and warn, here's one of the caveats of using extension tubes. They're basically just metal and plastic, and depending on which brand you buy, these are Velo. I think this whole set was $80 for the entire set. So that's, just to recap, $80. This particular close-up filter, $150. They start around $70, depending on your thread size.
Okay.
So that's $230 versus $1,000.
So that right there is one of the benefits of it.
Right, that's a benefit, but here's the caveat. When you put these on in between these 2 things, They're much lighter weight compared to each of these. So you want to make sure you hold the lens, because if you don't, it could just snap off.
Okay.
So that's,
it's a weak point, basically.
Risk, yeah.
It's a weak point.
But as long as you're mindful of that, you're fine.
Now, talk to us a little bit about the focus. You said there was an issue also to keep in mind when you're working with focus.
So the difference also between using one of these lenses let you focus kind of from here to here.
Okay.
When you start adding these things on to a non-macro lens,
okay,
it'll let you focus closer, but you can't necessarily focus all the way back here and all the way up here. You're kind of limited to this very small range of focus. But that's okay, because you're trying to get close and you're trying to get stuff.
Trying to do macro work, you're not looking for a really big range, you're looking to be able to get close. So now, with the better part of, how much was this?
$80.
$80.
Yeah.
$80 in a lens that you already have.
If you already have it, yes.
Or
$1,000.
You haven't spent $1,000. Great.
Here's the other thing. You can actually use these on the lens as well as this on the front of the lens to get even closer.
So now you're almost as close. I dare say you're as close as, let's take a look here. So we'll go to that one.
That's, sorry. That's with the two accessories.
That's the two accessories.
Together. This is with the macro lens. So it's pretty darn close.
I'd say it's extremely close.
Yeah.
I mean, we go in and we start playing with that a little bit more. That's great. I mean, look, I see what you're saying. I'm sorry, I had to make a bad pun there.
Yeah.
But I like that entire concept, and I think that that's one of the things that as soon as he told me about it, I was like, you got to come on the show and talk to people about it. Sure. I think it's a great technique, and to be able to do this for a couple $100, again, this will at least get you testing the water, seeing if you like to do this kind of stuff. Obviously, then, at that point, if you find that this is something that you want,
then you might be able to make the investment in the actual macro lens.
Cool. Thanks so much, Brett.
Absolutely.
Thanks for sharing most of that stuff. We're going to come right back. We've got some more tips and tricks. Stick around.
Hey, Corey, we're going to that new pizza place across the street after work. You in?
I really wish I could, man. I'm under deadline with this book. I gotta get it done.
You're a machine, Corey. You're a machine!
Well, you have no idea.
From the robotic compositing mind of Corey Barker, learn step-by-step Photoshop tricks, type effects, extracting, textures, Hollywood effects, and really badass 3D. Photoshop Down and Dirty Tricks for Designers, Volume 2. Your mind will be composited away.
Welcome back, everybody. RC here for Photography Tips and Tricks. Now, we have a PeachPit ebook deal we want to talk to you about. Kelby One viewers save 40% on this online video lighting fundamentals for photographers learn by video course by Joe Levine. Brad Bartholomew also helps out here as well. Make sure you go to peachpit.com/Kelby1, enter in the code Kelby1, and you'll get 40% off of this. So it's a great way for you to be able to take your learning over to the next level. Now, I wanted to kind of close it out a little bit to just kind of share some slow shutter tips, right? Somebody had asked on the Facebook page about what kinds of things can you do when you're shooting at slower and slower shutter speeds. So what are we talking about here? When you're using your camera and you're out taking a picture, you can get into darker and darker environments where your shutter speed is going to get slower and slower and slower. So if you listen now, watch this. That's a really slow shutter speed, right? So what do you do in instances like this, right? One of the first things that I usually tell people is take your aperture and open your aperture wider. So that is the number that's on the barrel of the camera. Make sure that that number goes as low as it can possibly go. Sometimes it's 1.4, sometimes it's 1.8, and certain lenses it could be 3.5 or 5.6. But just take the number down as low as you can. That can give you something. Keep in mind though, that when you do that, you are going to affect your depth of field. So if all of a sudden you have a lens that's available at 1.4, right? You can go all the way down to 1.4, you might be able to get the shot, but you might get the person in focus or the subject in focus, and you could have everything around you be completely blurred out. So that's something that you're gonna have to kind of keep in mind, right? Opening up your aperture, that's going to cause some depth of field problems. The second thing that you have available to you to be able to combat this is ISO. Take your ISO higher, right? I'd much rather have a grainier shot of a moment than have a shot that has blur. So I will move my ISO dial up to 1600, 3200, move it as high as you can to be able to get the shot that you need. That's something that's gonna be really good. The third thing that you want to do with something like this is if you have something where your shutter speed is relatively slow, let's say like here, right? That's a slow shutter speed. What I would do is I would set myself up to continuous high and shoot in a burst, right? Because now if you shoot with a burst, a lot of the times, by the time you stabilize yourself, you'll find that probably one of the shots in the middle of that burst series is going to be more in focus than the other shots. That's why sometimes you hear a lot of people kind of doing burst shots at slow shutter speeds. They're hoping for those middle shots to kind of be the ones that are in focus. Now, the last thing that you can do for this is obviously one of the most obvious ones, which is to get a tripod. You have to have a tripod. Any tripod will do. Just find something that's going to work for you. If we go over to the B&H website, you have things like Me Photo tripods. You can use Really Right Stuff tripods. You have Oben tripods. These are all 3 different types of tripods that we will really recommend for this. But the point with all of it is, no matter how cheap or how expensive. Let me show you a couple of different tripod options here. Take a look. So here on the B&H website, we have Me Photo Backpacker Travel Tripod, titanium, $139, right? You can go over here, find Oben tripods. Oben tripods, right? $79 for an aluminum tripod, right? You can get a table tripod. I usually carry around, I'll tell you this, I'll carry around a table tripod in my pocket. Oftentimes, so I carry a regular tripod and then I carry a table tripod because you never know when you're gonna need one. So if I'm out shooting, this is what you wanna do. So the tripods don't have to be expensive. You just have to carry one. Now, for me, the tripod that I use is this one, right? The TQC 14 tripod with ball head. It is a little steep, but that tripod goes with me everywhere. So this tripod's been through rain, sleet, snow, all sorts of different things. Really Right Stuff puts out some stuff. So the point with all of it is to carry a tripod. Right? If you have a tripod, then you can go ahead and you can start using lower ISOs, you can start using different apertures. If you want, right, in the absence of all of that stuff, the other thing that I would tell you, probably one last tip, is keep it tight. When you're using your camera and you're shooting, a lot of the times, when you grab your camera, make sure that you tuck in really, really tight. Right? You want to make sure that everything is really, really compact. If you're out here and you're doing this, that's going to cause a lot of wobble. Have it really, really tight, lean up against the wall. Sometimes you'll see people do Joe Mcnally's grip, which is basically they'll put the camera up on this part of the shoulder and then ratchet your shoulder up, and from here, put it up to your eye. What you're doing there is you're bracing your camera right onto a solid spot. You're closing this up. That gives you a really solid feel. Get on your knees or get on the floor, use your elbows. Keep it really, really tight. Now, hopefully, those kinds of tips will help you shoot a little bit better at those slower shutter speeds. Now, we have a couple of different things we want to talk to you about, right? Contest time, right? Let's go ahead and go to the contest. What you want to do here is you want to go to this episode. You want to make sure that you go to kelby1.com and find this episode. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Tell us what you want to be able to see. We can go ahead and do that right here. Take a look. Go to the kelby1.com website. Over here in this one section, we'll go ahead and go to the webcasts. Take a look at all of the other shows that we have. You want to go to photography tips and tricks. And inside of here, find the episode that we're working with. You'll be watching episode 61. We'll go ahead and we'll bring ourselves down into this one section here, and we can go ahead and leave a comment. All right, so log in, leave a comment, give us your name, give us your email address, tell us what you want to be able to see with the show, and one of you guys is going to win a seminar ticket of your choice to kelby1.com. So we have a lot of live seminars over at kelby1.com. Make sure that you go there, and you can pick a city. Go over to the kelby1.com website, right? Take a look at any kind of cities right there. Select the city. There's a bunch of seminars that are happening this month. There's a bunch of seminars that are happening in June. You want to go to one of them? Just let us know. One winner will be able to pick whichever one they want to go to. So thanks to you guys for stopping by for that. Now, I want to leave you with a website to take a look at. I want you to go over here to nlworth.com. So nlworth.com is the photography of Nathan Worth. And this is somebody that my buddy Dan Hughes turned me on to. He's got some phenomenal black and white work over here. Zenscapes, cityscapes. Let me just go over here. I'm going to show you some seascape stuff. Just some beautiful lines. And it looks like he's, a lot of California work, but gorgeous black and white photography. All right, very, very interesting, very, very inspiring. It's making me want to go back out there and start doing some black and white work. He's just got some incredible, incredible work there. So you can find all of that stuff over at nlworth.com. Anyway, guys, thanks for stopping by for the first episode in the brand new season here of Photography Tips and Tricks. My name is RC, and we'll hope to see you guys soon. Take care.